Greetings, this is Karni Zor with the obvious question, where is the corona situation heading towards in the near future? A very, very important question, which astrology definitely has some answers for. So first, if you haven't seen my previous posts, I really recommend looking at my videos about the entrance of a new decade and about the Saturn and Pluto alignment. We are now in very, very unique astrological times. You can actually see the planets aligned. Yes, the stars are aligned in the sky in a very, very rare conjunction, which means that the planets are one near the other. You can actually see it with your eyes if you wake up an hour before dawn, and it's worth looking at it an hour before dawn, just where the sun would rise at dawn an hour later to the east. You would be able to see now in the skies the planets Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, just one near the other. In actuality, they're not one near the other because there's a good few light minutes separating between them. So what you're actually seeing is an alignment. They're one after the other. And there is another planet, a dwarf planet there in this configuration, which you don't see with your eyes, but it has huge effect upon us. And exactly between Jupiter and Saturn, there is the planet which we cannot see with our eyes because of the distance, which is Pluto. Now, these four planets together have huge effect upon us these days. Saturn and Pluto alone already changed the course of history. So please take a look at my previous videos where I explain how what we're seeing now in the sky also happened exactly at the beginning of World War I and at the birth year of the internet and the cellular phone, and also the biggest outburst of AIDS. So please take a look at these videos. But today I really want to talk to you about the future and what is heading. So together with the Pluto-Saturn, a conjunction or alignment, which already changed the face of history before, we have now two other planets joining this rare configuration. One is Jupiter, which really expands and exaggerates everything that it encounters. So Jupiter is going to be with Saturn and Pluto almost throughout 2020, making the effect of Pluto the planet of transformation and Saturn the planet of conformity and order. So this change in all of what we think of as order is now taking place, and in a big way due to Jupiter's visit there. But starting now, Mars, as I said, is also transiting these three planets, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. Now, Mars will be in the area of this conjunction for a whole month till mid-April. Well, Mars in the Roman mythology was the god of war, and this, of course, already suggests that it's a tricky situation that we're now heading towards. Mars activates things, inflate things, and actually we would probably see things that are related to Mars happening, which it might be violence amongst people, rebellion. It can be a more violent outburst of the virus, and it's not a pretty planet to have around. And we're having it there actually in the month, the first astrological month because we just had the equinox and a new astrological year started under the influence traditionally of Mars and of the Aries sign. So Mars is anyhow very, very active. And these days, Mars is in conjunction to Jupiter, going to pass through Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn and really inflate these planets, which are already really influencing the whole world and the course of history. But before we get hysteric, let's remember that each planet has its lower side and expression and its higher side and expression. So what we want to connect to as human beings is the higher side of Mars these days. And how do we do that? So Mars had 3 children together with his lover Venus, 2 sons, Deimos and Phobos, which means fear and a horror. We don't want to go there, but this is definitely what Mars can cause in us emotionally. The daughter is actually harmonia, harmony. And this is where we want to be. And how do we create harmony in this chaos and in these very, very constraining Saturn, unknown Pluto, extreme Jupiter times that we are in? So Mars's secret is to be active and to do things. If we are active, if we're doing things in an aware way, if we are productive at this time, we're joining Mars's higher side. And for sure, it's really, really important in our lives to be aware that anger, violence are really possible these days, and we do not want to go there. We in our personal life want to take the energy that is now offered to us always as a gift and as an option for personal development from the stars and from the planets, and we want to take the energy of Mars not to burst out with violence, war, anger. We want to take it into activation and to doing practical things. Now, I have explained in my previous videos how we as personal people can really influence the course of the world, and that it's really, really up to the individual to take the energy that comes now from the skies and make the best out of it. And if each one of us in our personal life will make the effort not to go into anger and fear and phobia and horror, but rather to take this time and be active and do good things, good deeds for ourselves, for the world at this time, together we can create a critical mass and another options for the human beings to use this energy of Mars. So we do need to take into account, though, that things can go extreme, violent and wild during the next month. And anyhow, we do need to prepare for a marathon run with this conjunction between Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, which is going to continue throughout 2020. But the first good news are that after Mars will go out of this conjunction, get away from these 3 other planets, things will be much more relaxed. And I'm talking about mid-April, where things would get calmer and easier. This is one very big good news. But when are things going to finally end? So the date I am giving now is the end of June and beginning of July, and I will explain that naturally. So the year 2020 entered between 2 eclipses, a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse that happened exactly at the end of December 2019 and the beginning of January 2020. Now, usually you don't want to start things between 2 eclipses because this is a time where things can go wrong. There are 2 vectors there that don't really go well, one with the other. But a whole year and a whole decade started at this time. So we're under the influence of the eclipses throughout 2020. The interesting thing is that these eclipses also happened during the shortest day of the year, very, very close to it, at the beginning, the shortest day of the year, December 21st, and then we have January 1st, the beginning of the calendaric year. So it's very, very interesting because this is the time, the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. Well, this is the day of entrance of new force to planet Earth. And the solar eclipses, or the eclipse season, because always there is a solar and lunar eclipse together 2 weeks apart, this happens 2 times a year, and they have a relationship between them, these 2 eclipses. Now, when half year will pass, we'll have another set of lunar and solar eclipse. This time, it will happen exactly at the summer solstice. Now, at the summer solstice, June 21st, exactly at the day when we celebrate the sun, Sol is sun, and it's the turnover time of the sun, we will have a solar eclipse. Now, the coincidence of this happening, solar eclipse at the day of the solstice, is so unique, so rare, but everything that we're seeing during 2020 is so unique and so rare that something very, very special is now happening. And my strong feeling and interpretation of what is now happening is that something very strong entered at the winter solstice and will get out of the world, of the system, at the summer solstice with the next solar eclipse. And this will be followed 2 weeks after that with a lunar eclipse, and hopefully the whole process that the world was meant to receive from the universe as an option, as an opportunity for change, will be done at the end of June and the beginning of July. Now, in the meantime, we need to remember a few things. First of all, to prepare to a marathon ride, as I said, and to think long term how we are coping with this situation. Second of all, Mars, what would you want to do? You have this very unique opportunity these days. Saturn and Jupiter are in alignment in the sky, and Saturn can mean constraints, limitations, being restrained as we are confined to our houses. But on the other hand, Saturn is also the Lord of karma and also help us build very, very, very strong foundation to whatever we choose to build in our lives and in this world during this time. On the other hand, we have Jupiter. Jupiter can exaggerate everything. It makes things go global, wild. Everything with Jupiter, especially in conjunction to Pluto, can go viral this time. But Jupiter also teaches us about true freedom, and it teaches us how to remain optimistic and how to keep our global awareness and how to be aware and how to be giving during this very, very, very special time. And it's interesting that the two, the white and black, mix like the yin and the yang symbol. Can it be that our restraints, the fact that we're now home not working, can that give us freedom actually to do what we want and need to do? So this is a very, very big question. And with Mars around, the bigger question is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your freedom, Jupiter? And what are you going to do with your time, Saturn? And please remember that we're now planting the seeds for our own future and for the future of the world. So whatever we do now will really grow wildly amazing and go viral, just as the bad things go wildly viral these days. The other planet is Pluto. Pluto is the planet of transformation, of change. Pluto is also the planet of the unknown and the mystery and the future. And this is the time for us to sit between the freedom of Jupiter and the limitations of Saturn, and to be with the incoming future, which is Pluto. And that will allow our own personal change and the global change. So I hope these insights and forecast about the coming time, some tips about how to handle the energy, helps you. I encourage you to register here to my YouTube channel so you'll be able to receive all the videos as I post them. You can also visit my site, astrology.com. Please like this video, please share it with many friends as possible so the message goes on. And I'm kind of sure I will continue to update you pretty soon as things evolve. Goodbye, everybody.